Hi, welcome to class as it is. I know we're not together today, darn, but today we're still going to learn something, so I've prepared a video lesson for you. So with this video lesson, we're going to talk about a few things. I know it's not going to be exactly like a normal class. That's okay. We're still going to work on a few ideas. So first, we're going to look at story parts. Now you may know some of these, and in class this could work out differently. I would hear your suggestions. But today we're going to look at character. What is a character? Setting, plot, theme, conflict or problem, rising action and complications, and the resolution. So from here, we're going to look at these parts. Now, a character, what is a character? A character is who in a story, right? That's very important, obviously. But when we're talking about the characters in a story, we can't just have a character. You have to show what a character is like. And this is an example where kindergarten is not always right. We want to show and don't tell. Now, why don't tell? Well, it's not as mature writing. It's not as advanced. So we like to show what a character's like through their actions and through their dialogue and through how they act. They can show us, are they good? Are they bad? Are they nice? Are they happy? Are they sad? If we tell the story reader that they're sad, it's not as good. It's too direct. We like more indirect by showing it. Seems better. All right? From there, we get setting. Now, most students tell me setting is just where. But it's not just where, it's also when. When is really important to a story. Because, yes, where are you? Are you in Markham? Are you at home? Are you at school? That changes a lot of the story. But when are you, is really important to the story as well. Again, we want to show, don't tell a lot of these ideas. All right? With this, if you're at home, but it's not the year 2020, maybe it's 1920, 1820, 1320, right? Or is it 2420? So it changes a lot of the story when we have a different when, okay? It's not always important to the story when, right? We can guess it fairly easily sometimes, just in general. If we're talking about people riding on horses and living in wood houses, it's probably in the past, right? If there's flying cars and spaceships and robots, we know when is later into the future. We don't have to be too specific. Next is plot. That's just what happens. Okay? So what happens in the story? Obviously, that's the easy part. It doesn't always seem like it. But once you know what you want for your character and your setting, and when we get to it, your theme and your conflict, the plot can have a lot of information that you think, oh, that would be good, that would be good. It will come together. So, theme. Well, what's the theme? Well, that's just really the why, or the moral to the story. And we're going to look at that a lot more today, okay? So, a moral to the story, you might know these. A moral to the story is, why are we telling this story? So, we know a lot of fables. What's a fable? It's usually a story with animals or people, and it's very short story usually, and it's telling you a theme. You might know like the tortoise and the hare, the turtle and the rabbit, Three Little Pigs, Red Riding Hood, all tell a story theme very directly. The characters are just to help the theme. The setting is not as important except to tell about the theme. So everything is mostly directed about teaching a lesson and a moral. What's right, what's wrong. Okay? Conflict or problem. Again, if our story is a fable, which we're going to be doing today, a conflict or a problem is what went wrong. Right? So it's another what, because it's part of our plot. but it's a specific part of our plot that sets up the theme. Usually we want a conflict or problem that helps show our theme, right? For the turtle and the rabbit, what's the theme? Well, it's to keep trying. When we can see with the conflict or problem, they're having a race. That's the problem. And that the rabbit doesn't finish the race, right? We have rising action and complications. That's just more what? After our first problem here. So our rising action tells us about that. Okay. And then we have our resolution. Did I forget something? Oh, I hope you caught it. It's our climax. Now, climax, what is that? Well, that has a lot to do with our theme again. But that's where we fix this initial problem. And it's really, how do we solve this problem? And resolution is also a how and a what. It just happens what after happens, the climax, after we realize our theme. So with the climax and the turtle and the hare, what happens? Well, how do we solve this problem? How do we show our theme? Well, the turtle wins. And so how do we know? The rabbit explains, how did I lose? Oh, I know how. I got lazy. So climax is just to show the theme, right? And this is important in every book that you read and every movie that you watch has this as well, because movies are just books on TV, right? So in the Marvel movies and Frozen and any kind of cartoon movie, they have a lot of these things and they're really easy to see. So we're also going to look at some grammar today with our story. We're going to look at our suffix less and ness. Okay? So with that, we're going to look at, and I'm going to send to you, you can read this, The King and the Mouse. A little picture of a king and a cute mouse. All right, in this story, it's going to introduce pretty much two main characters. This setting is not very important. There are some plot points, but it's really the moral of the story, the theme that we're looking at today. So you're going to read the first page, and then on the second page, we have some questions. I want you to underline parts that show these 6 things. So how do we show these 6 things in the story? Okay? So we don't directly say these things. We show these things about the character of the king. Okay? So that's a good example of where we show and don't tell a lot of things. Now this story is still a fable, so they will be very direct and they will tell you some things in the story. That's okay. Fables like to do that. Right, then I have a series of questions. Can you do these 3 things? Right? And then I ask, what do these actions mean? So we have the first one. Let me see if my hair is in the way. Can you raise your eyebrows? What does that mean? When you raise your eyebrows. Slap your thigh. What does that mean? Right? So you won't tell me. And then stamp your foot. What does that mean? So each of these has an expression that has an emotion to it. And it shows us about character through their actions. All right. And then, because our story, the first half, ended on a cliffhanger. You might hear this in TV sometimes. Let's use a different color. Cliffhanger. What is a cliffhanger? Well, just like a person on a cliff, they're stuck. Help, 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 no. They're hanging. They don't know if they're going to fall or if they're going to get back up. So it's kind of a surprise, suspense. So a cliffhanger here, we don't know what's going to happen. You are going to make some guesses, and then you're going to read the mouse's story. From there, you'll read what the mouse does. Okay? It's a little bit longer than the king's part. And then I want you to write down 5 things that one of the characters is going to say to another person, okay? So I want you to think about what would you say. Try to make it very specific, right? And then, what do you think is the moral of the story? So the theme, what is the story about? Trying to teach. I have 3 choices here. I hope it's pretty obvious. And then we have some vocabulary. So in our vocabulary, I have 10 words here. Now, some of these words are using our suffix that I want to explain today. Now, less and ness are very common suffixes. We have our first countless, right? Countless. You know how to count, but if you're countless, what does that mean? Well, to count something is to 1, 2, 3, to count, right? 1, 2, 3, right? But if it's countless, it means there's so many, we cannot count it all, right? So there's a number, doesn't mean there's less of something. It means that there's so many, you cannot count, right? Same as another word we have, our number 4 word, priceless. Price of something. If it's $2, we know the price. But if it's priceless, the price is so much that we cannot count it. It's too much. So less doesn't usually mean like the less by itself, so little. It means there's so much we cannot count or we cannot understand how much. Now, ness, we have 2 words in here. We have forgiveness and selfishness. Now, so forgive, what is to forgive? Oh, I did something bad. Please forgive me. They're asking for forgiveness. So when you use ness, it changes it to the idea. I guess I should write down this side too, right? With less is too many to count or to know. Okay? So when you see ness, it means the idea of that thing before. Forgiveness. Selfish? I'm selfish. What does he have? He has selfishness. The idea of being selfish. We use it a lot for some bigger words that you're going to study, usually in social studies and science class, such as, let's say, I put myself on the spot, didn't I? Well, you give me an example next class. Maybe you've heard of it in class. All right, so we have some other words. I want you, in your example here, to write down what do these words mean. Now, I've helped you with some of them, but there's more here. We have plotting. Uses. Now, it's not the same as plot, but it's a little bit related. Okay? I'm plotting to do something. Right? Magnificent. Sounds like the French word magnificent. Right? Priceless again. Banished. Right? Starve. I don't think I'm starving. Forgiveness, selfishness, advisor, and possessions. Okay? Next, on your last page for this handout, I want you to write 2 things. Number 1 is explaining your Chinese New Year. What do you do for Chinese New Year? So I want you to include things like things you do, eat, wear, say, or what do you think of the activities and family? So what do you think of them? Do you think it's good? Do you think spending time with your family? What do you think about that? And then, what do you like most and least about this holiday? All right? So from there, we can understand those things. Now, write a story is the number 2. This will take you a little bit longer, but it doesn't have to be a long story. Okay? So you're going to write a story with a theme. You can use any theme you like, but some good ideas from me or suggestions are about family is usually very easy. hard work, the three little pigs, being nice, or other positive ideas I find are usually easier, right? From there, we need to remember the story introduction usually has these two parts. So your introduction is the first parts, right? You're introducing the character and setting, and then you're introducing the conflict or the problem in your story. That comes right after characters and settings usually. All right? And then from there we have some more complications. Okay? And after that, we can have our climax and then our resolution. See, I had it mostly in order until I tried to trick you. All right? So in all of that, all this includes the plot, right? And our plot is really just to show our theme. So picking your theme first really helps your other parts, okay? Knowing what theme you want will help you decide your character, your setting, your conflict, your problems, your rising action, your climax, and your resolution, which then gives you your basic plot. Okay? So, I don't expect to be a very long story. I want you to think about what theme, though. I want your theme to be clear. Okay? All right. So, from that, I have another activity I want you to do. Hopefully, you take a good look at this. Try and look at it. See if you need anything help from it. All right. So, I'm going to erase this. And I'm going to talk about our next part.